Cardinal Luis Tagle's rise to prominence is a story deeply rooted in humility, service, and an unwavering dedication to the ideals of the Catholic Church. Born in the Philippines in 1957, Tagle grew up in a modest household in Imus, Cavite, a province just outside Manila. From an early age, he displayed an extraordinary intellect and a keen interest in theology, which would later define his path within the Church. His community-oriented upbringing, coupled with his profound empathy for the struggles of ordinary people, laid the foundation for a career that would take him from the small streets of Cavite to the grand halls of the Vatican. Tagle's journey began with his academic brilliance. He pursued theological studies at the Ateneo de Manila University and later at the Catholic University of America, where he earned his doctorate in sacred theology. His academic work focused on ecclesiology, the study of the Church's nature and structure, which would become a recurring theme in his leadership. Even as a young scholar, Tagle was recognized for his ability to blend deep intellectual rigor with a pastoral sensibility, a rare combination that would set him apart in his later roles. His insights were not confined to dusty theological texts, but were grounded in the lived experiences of faith, making his teachings relatable and accessible. In the 1990s, Tagle became a prominent voice in the International Theological Commission, an advisory body to the Vatican. His work there gained the attention of church leaders, including Pope John Paul II, who valued his progressive yet deeply rooted understanding of Catholic theology. During this period, Tagle cultivated a reputation as a thinker who could bridge tradition with contemporary challenges. His ability to navigate the complexities of modern society while remaining steadfast in his faith made him an invaluable asset to the Church. Tagle's pastoral career took a significant turn in 2001 when he was appointed Bishop of Imus, a diocese that encompassed his hometown. Here, he put into practice the principles he had long studied and advocated. His leadership style was characterized by simplicity and approachability. He frequently visited remote parishes, held dialogues with lay people, and ensured that the Church's resources were directed toward those in greatest need. His sermons, often emotional and deeply personal, resonated with people from all walks of life. It was during this time that Tagle became known for his ability to connect with ordinary believers, a trait that would define his ministry. The global Church took notice of Tagle's extraordinary leadership when he was appointed Archbishop of Manila in 2011. The role came with immense responsibility, as the Archdiocese of Manila is one of the largest and most influential in the Catholic world. Tagle embraced the challenge with humility, focusing on reforming the local church to better serve the poor and marginalized. Under his leadership, the Archdiocese became a hub for social justice initiatives, from providing aid to typhoon victims to advocating for the rights of migrant workers. Tagle's hands-on approach during crises, such as his response to Typhoon Haiyan in 2013, earned him widespread admiration. His visible presence in disaster zones and his efforts to comfort grieving families highlighted his commitment to being a shepherd to his flock. As Tagle's influence grew, so did his responsibilities within the global Church. In 2015, he was elected president of Caritas Internationalis, a confederation of Catholic charitable organizations operating in over 160 countries. This role allowed him to expand his reach, addressing issues such as poverty, hunger, and climate change on a global scale. His leadership at Caritas demonstrated his ability to manage complex international operations, while staying true to the Church's mission of compassion and care. Tagle's speeches at international forums often emphasized the interconnectedness of humanity and the need for global solidarity, themes that resonated deeply in a world grappling with increasing divisions. In 2019, Pope Francis appointed Tagle as the prefect of the Congregation for the Evangelization of Peoples, a position often referred to as the Red Pope, due to its significant authority over missionary activities worldwide. This appointment was both a recognition of Tagle's accomplishments and a strategic move to align the Church's evangelization efforts with Pope Francis's vision of inclusivity and outreach. In this role, Tagle has been instrumental in reshaping the Church's missionary strategies, particularly in Asia and Africa, where Catholicism is experiencing significant growth. His understanding of cultural diversity and his ability to engage with different communities have made him a key figure in the Church's efforts to remain relevant in an increasingly globalized world. Tagle's rise to prominence is not merely a story of hierarchical ascent, but one of profound impact and inspiration. His leadership is defined by a deep sense of purpose, rooted in the teachings of Christ and the needs of the faithful. He has become a symbol of hope for many, particularly in regions where the church is often seen as distant or inaccessible. Tagle's ability to connect with people, whether through a heartfelt sermon or a compassionate gesture, has made him one of the most beloved figures in the Catholic Church today. Yet, his journey is not without challenges. As he navigates the complexities of his role in the Vatican, Tagle faces resistance from conservative factions within the Church, who view his progressive approach with suspicion. Despite this, he remains steadfast in his mission, embodying the values of humility, compassion, and service that have defined his career. His rise to prominence is a testament to the power of faith, intellect, and an unwavering commitment to the gospel's message of love and justice. Cardinal Tagle stands as a beacon of hope for a church striving to adapt to the needs of the modern world while staying true to its sacred traditions. The relationship between Pope Francis and Cardinal Luis Tagle is defined by a shared vision of a church that is compassionate, inclusive, and focused on serving the most vulnerable. Their collaboration goes beyond mere professional ties. It is rooted in mutual admiration for each other's values and a common understanding of the role the church should play in the modern world. Their vision is not merely one of religious doctrine, but a deeply humanitarian approach to faith, aimed at fostering justice and compassion in a rapidly changing global landscape. Pope Francis has long championed the concept of a church for the poor, a church that extends its hand to those on the margins of society, whether they are refugees, the impoverished, or those suffering from the effects of climate change. From the moment of his papacy, he's been vocal about the need for the Catholic Church to align itself more closely with those who are most in need. This focus on the marginalized is not only a spiritual calling but a moral imperative. For Francis, the Church must be a refuge for the outcast, a sanctuary that welcomes the poor, the oppressed, and the disenfranchised. Cardinal Tagle, in many ways, embodies this vision. His personal journey, from his humble beginnings in the Philippines to his rise as one of the most influential figures in the Catholic Church, mirrors the values of empathy and compassion that Pope Francis holds dear. Known for his deep commitment to social justice and pastoral care, Tagle has long been an advocate for the poor. His leadership as Archbishop of Manila was characterized by a hands-on approach to helping those in need, from responding to natural disasters like Typhoon Haiyan, to actively addressing the challenges faced by Filipino migrant workers. His work in Manila, often described as a reflection of the Church's mission to reach out to the poor, earned him a reputation as a reformist with a heart for the people. Tagle's theological focus on inclusion and social justice is deeply aligned with Pope Francis's own teachings. Pope Francis has repeatedly emphasized that the Church's primary role is to be a servant of humanity, not a distant authority. Both leaders understand that the Catholic Church cannot remain relevant if it does not embrace the changing realities of the world, particularly the challenges faced by the most vulnerable. For both Pope Francis and Cardinal Tagle, the Church must be a vehicle for compassion, not just a place of doctrinal authority. Their shared vision is that faith should be lived out through actions of kindness, service, and solidarity with the less fortunate. Their partnership, forged in their shared ideals, has been evident in their work together in the Vatican. One of the most significant collaborations between the two was when Pope Francis appointed Tagle as the prefect of the Congregation for the Evangelization of Peoples in 2019. This role, often referred to as that of the Red Pope, placed Tagle at the center of the Church's missionary work, giving him influence over the Church's evangelization efforts worldwide. Pope Francis's decision to appoint Tagle to this powerful position was not only a recognition of his capabilities, but also a clear endorsement of their shared vision for the future of the Church. By entrusting Tagle with such a critical role, the Pope signaled his commitment to continuing the Church's mission to the marginalized and to expanding the Church's presence in the global South, particularly in Asia and Africa. The two men's bond is more than just professional. It is built on a deep respect for each other's ideologies and a shared commitment to creating a more inclusive and just church. Both have faced criticism from conservative factions within the church, yet both remain resolute in their belief that the church must evolve to meet the needs of a changing world. For Pope Francis, Tagle represents the ideal church leader, someone who embodies humility, compassion, and a strong sense of pastoral responsibility. Tagle's ability to connect with people, to listen to their stories and struggles, is something that Pope Francis deeply values. Tagle's leadership style, characterized by openness, empathy, and a focus on dialogue, perfectly complements the Pope's vision of a church that is less about hierarchy and more about building bridges. Their shared vision extends beyond the realm of social justice into the realm of theological renewal. Both men believe that the church must move away from rigid doctrinal authority and become more adaptable to the needs of the contemporary world. In a time when many people, particularly younger generations, are disillusioned with traditional institutions, Pope Francis and Tagle's emphasis on the church as a place of encounter and dialogue is a powerful response. They understand that the church cannot afford to remain a bastion of traditionalism. Instead, it must embrace the challenges and complexities of the modern world, finding new ways to speak to people where they are. For both leaders, the church must engage with the world's most pressing issues: poverty, climate change, war, and migration, while remaining rooted in the message of love and compassion that has always been at the heart of the Catholic faith. In this light, Pope Francis and Cardinal Tagle's vision for the church is one of transformation, both spiritual and institutional. It is a vision that seeks to create a church that is not merely an institution of power but a community of service, a force for good in the world. Their shared commitment to social justice, compassion, and inclusivity is a reminder that the Catholic Church, at its best, is not a distant, unapproachable entity, but a living, breathing institution that responds to the cries of the suffering and works tirelessly for the betterment of all people. Together, Pope Francis and Cardinal Tagle are helping to shape the future of the Catholic Church, ensuring that it remains relevant, compassionate, and deeply connected to the needs of the world. Cardinal Luis Tagle's role in evangelization is a story of vision, adaptability, and an unshakable commitment to spreading the gospel in a world marked by complexity and diversity. As the prefect of the Congregation for the Evangelization of Peoples, often called the Red Pope for its far-reaching authority over the Catholic Church's missionary activities, Tagle has been entrusted with one of the most significant responsibilities within the Vatican. His mission is clear: to bring the message of Christ to the furthest corners of the globe, ensuring that the Church remains vibrant and relevant in regions where its influence is both growing and facing challenges. Evangelization has long been at the heart of the Catholic Church's mission, but the modern world presents unique hurdles. In a time of rapid secularization in the West and cultural pluralism globally, the Church faces the task of remaining a beacon of hope while respecting the traditions and beliefs of diverse communities. Cardinal Tagle, with his deep understanding of cultural sensitivities and his ability to communicate with people from all walks of life, is uniquely positioned to lead this effort. His work in this capacity is not only a continuation of his pastoral ethos, but also a reflection of Pope Francis's vision for a church that listens, learns, and acts in love. From the beginning of his tenure, Tagle recognized that evangelization in the 21st century required a shift in approach. No longer could the Church rely solely on traditional methods of catechesis or preaching. Instead, it needed to engage with people's lived realities. Tagle emphasized the importance of dialogue, not as a compromise of Catholic values, but as a way to connect deeply with the experiences of those outside the faith. His approach has been characterized by a spirit of humility and respect, often describing evangelization as a mutual journey where both the evangelizer and the recipient grow in understanding. One of Tagle's most impactful contributions has been his work in Asia, a region where Christianity is a minority religion, but one with deep historical roots. Asia's diverse cultures and religions make it a challenging but essential focus for Catholic evangelization. Under Tagle's leadership, the Church has prioritized interfaith dialogue, recognizing that mutual respect and understanding are crucial in a region where religious tensions can be high. Tagle's efforts to foster peaceful coexistence between Christians, Muslims, Buddhists, and Hindus have not only advanced the Church's mission, but also highlighted its role as a force for unity in a divided world. In addition to dialogue, Tagle has championed the idea of evangelization through witness. He believes that the most powerful testimony of faith is not found in words, but in actions. This belief has guided the Church's missionary activities under his leadership, emphasizing humanitarian efforts such as providing aid to disaster-stricken communities, supporting education in impoverished areas, and advocating for social justice. For Tagle, evangelization is about embodying the teachings of Christ through compassion and service, showing the love of God to the world through tangible acts of kindness. Africa, another focus of Tagle's work, presents its own unique challenges and opportunities. With its rapidly growing Catholic population, the continent is poised to become a cornerstone of the Church's future. However, poverty, political instability, and social inequality remain significant barriers to evangelization. Tagle has been instrumental in encouraging local clergy to take a more active role in addressing these issues, emphasizing that the Church must be a voice for the oppressed and a source of hope for the marginalized. His visits to African nations have often been marked by emotional encounters with communities where faith is both a source of strength and a path to resilience. Tagle's leadership also extends to Latin America, where Catholicism has long been the dominant religion, but now faces increasing competition from evangelical movements. Here, Tagle has focused on revitalizing the Church's presence by fostering a sense of community and belonging. He has called for a more participatory Church, one that values the contributions of lay people and empowers them to take an active role in evangelization. This inclusive approach has resonated with many, particularly younger generations who often feel disconnected from traditional structures. Tagle's role in evangelization is not without its challenges. Within the Vatican, his focus on dialogue and inclusivity has drawn criticism from conservative factions who fear that such approaches dilute Catholic teachings. Despite this, Tagle remains unwavering in his belief that the Church must evolve to meet the needs of the modern world. He often speaks about the importance of listening, both to God and to the people the Church serves. For Tagle, listening is not a passive act, but an active engagement that allows the Church to understand and respond to the unique circumstances of each community. One of Tagle's most defining traits is his ability to connect deeply with people. Whether addressing a room of scholars, comforting victims of natural disasters, or celebrating Mass in a remote village, he has a gift for making everyone feel seen and heard. This personal touch has been a cornerstone of his evangelization efforts, reinforcing the idea that the Church is not an institution detached from the people, but a community rooted in their joys, sorrows, and struggles. As the Catholic Church continues to navigate the complexities of a globalized world, Tagle's role in evangelization will remain pivotal. His vision of a Church that listens, serves, and loves offers a compelling blueprint for the future. By bridging the gap between tradition and modernity, Cardinal Tagle is not only spreading the gospel, but also shaping a Church that is more inclusive, compassionate, and attuned to the needs of the global community. His work is a testament to the enduring power of faith to inspire, heal, and unite in even the most challenging times. Internal power struggles within the Catholic Church have long been a source of intrigue and tension, particularly in the context of its evolving role in the modern world. Beneath the pious facade of unity and spiritual devotion, rivalries often unfold over doctrinal interpretations, leadership strategies, and the direction of the Church's mission. The rise of figures like Cardinal Luis Tagle, who aligns closely with Pope Francis's progressive vision, has only intensified these internal divisions, particularly between reformists and conservatives. The core of these struggles lies in differing views on how the Church should navigate contemporary issues like poverty, climate change, migration, and the role of the laity. While Pope Francis has championed a Church for the poor and marginalized, advocating for inclusivity and social justice, his efforts have faced opposition from more traditional factions within the Vatican. These groups, often representing the older guard of the Church, fear that such reforms undermine core Catholic doctrines and threaten the institution's historical authority. As Tagle's influence within the Church grows, so does his role in these power dynamics. His progressive stance on interfaith dialogue, inclusivity, and social justice positions him as both a rising star and a threat to conservative forces. These ideological battles are not confined to Vatican walls. They resonate throughout dioceses worldwide, affecting how local clergy and laypeople interpret the Church's teachings. The result is a tension-filled environment where each faction vies for control over the future of the Catholic Church, and the stakes could not be higher. The potential papacy of Cardinal Luis Tagle has become a subject of intense speculation within the Catholic Church, particularly as Pope Francis's influence has reshaped the Vatican's priorities. Tagle's rise in prominence aligns with a broader shift in the Church's focus toward inclusivity, social justice, and outreach to marginalized communities. As the former Archbishop of Manila, Tagle has long been known for his pastoral approach, which combines compassion with intellectual rigor. His leadership in the Philippines, particularly his response to Typhoon Haiyan, demonstrated a blend of humanitarian action and spiritual care, endearing him to both the faithful and those outside the Church. Yet, while his public persona is one of humility and empathy, his position as a potential successor to Pope Francis is not without its complexities. The conservative factions within the Church, wary of his progressive stance on issues like climate change, interfaith dialogue, and economic inequality, could pose a significant challenge to his ascent. Still, Tagle's ability to unite disparate groups, his intellectual acumen, and his deep commitment to Pope Francis's vision of a church for the poor make him a strong contender. His papacy, if it were to come to pass, could mark a continuation of Francis's reforms, potentially reshaping the Church in ways that align with the rapidly changing global landscape, particularly in Asia, Africa, and Latin America, where Catholicism's future lies.